in the original production of a Harry Potter musical during the previous one that we just talked about, there is this line.
How about a twirl? He's like a girl!
Now, back when I first watched this, 12, almost 13 years ago in 2009, I didn't really think much about this line. I'm not going to go so far as to say that I found it funny necessarily, but I certainly didn't see anything wrong with it. But that is ultimately because at the time, I was very much being influenced by toxic masculinity. Now, I do think it's important to point out that there's nobody in my life specifically that necessarily pushed me toward doing that. Certainly my parents never pushed me toward embracing toxic masculinity or anything. I think it was more just, that's kind of what society did back then and very much still does now. And so I was very much being influenced by this whole idea of toxic masculinity. The main thing that toxic masculinity does, for those who might not know, is that it takes ideas that might be seen as feminine and wants you to believe that it's lesser. That's why it's toxic, and that's why it affects everybody, because while it very obviously is very negative and derogatory toward females, it makes males think that they can't express themselves in ways that aren't macho. So once I went to college, and quite a few years had to pass before I finally let toxic masculinity drop, I was able to look back at this line and realize that it is very not okay. Because it does embrace toxic masculinity, because dancing is not tended to be seen as masculine. And so there's this idea that men shouldn't dance, which obviously is ridiculous. There have been a lot of men throughout history that have been famous for dancing, and obviously dancing is something that anybody can do. And I particularly find it weird that this line is in this song about our main villain, who is a male, who is dancing. It also feels like the people who wrote this musical are trying to, poke fun at the fact that their main villain is dancing. And it's like, oh, I know, the male villain's dancing, but look, as Harry's dancing is like a girl, ha ha ha, and it's just, I don't know, it rubs me the wrong way. And I'm not necessarily saying that the intent of putting in this line was to do that. The intent was to, poke fun at that kind of thing, but that is kind of how it's coming across. And it's just this is a song about everybody on stage dancing, and so it's so weird that they put this line in. So ultimately, I am really glad that when they brought this song back and sang it at Homecoming 10 years after this musical came out, they did change that line.
How about a twirl? Give him a whirl!
It shows that anybody is able to get past toxic masculinity, and it shows that Starkid has moved past that, which is always nice to hear. So yeah, that is my thoughts on that topic. Full disclosure, it took me a while to reach this point. I didn't know how to get these words out. I was trying to write things down and trying to do all that kind of stuff, and it wasn't happening. So I'm hoping that I got everything that I wanted to get out there and got it out well. If not, I apologize, but with all that being said, I will see all of you whenever I see you on this channel again.